Cool. All good? All good. Right. Welcome back to Finding Charizard, guys. And here we have Will from the Lab TCG. Thank you so much for being here, Will. It's great having you. Um, you have so much knowledge in Pokemon, and to have someone like you on the channel, for me, is great because not only do you know so much about Pokemon, you know so much about the actual game side of it as well, which I literally have very basic knowledge of, near to no knowledge pretty much. So to hear about all your experiences and stuff, I'm really, curious to see your opinions and stuff that we'll talk about through some of the topics and that as well. But first of all, if you just want to self-introduce yourself, tell us about the Lab TCG and your kind of history as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. For those that don't know, my name is Will. I run the Lab TCG YouTube channel and different business facets all over the internet, whether that's Amazon or TCG Player or eBay or my own Shopify site. I've been selling odds and ends for about 7 years since I was pretty young. Got into Pokemon through an unconventional way. I didn't start collecting or anything like that. I actually started playing the competitive Pokemon TCG. So I was a pretty bad player for a couple of years, and then as I continued to just obsess and obsess over the space in the game, I became one of the best players in North America. And that was right before the pandemic. I was ranked 11th. Then the pandemic came and shut down all the tournaments, and I had this huge Pokemon collection and didn't know what to do with it, and had always kind of just been a little entrepreneurial. So my passion for Pokemon and entrepreneurship kind of came together, and I founded the Lab TCG, which the name is based off of the group of partners I had that we would test the decks before tournaments was called the
Right.
Lab. So naturally, I put the Lab and the trading card game together, and that's how the business started. So was selling primarily on TCG Player for a little bit, started experimenting, getting really involved with some people that know a lot more about the space, and tried learning from them. And once I felt I had enough of an idea of what I was doing, I started a YouTube channel and wanted to kind of document my journey and share the knowledge that I had found with others. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, cool, cool. So you've been in like Pokemon for quite a while now. So you've probably seen lots of different like markets within Pokemon. Like obviously we had the big boom um, around COVID and all that, but obviously going back when I first started getting, well, I first started with Pokemon when I was really young. When first Pokemon first came out, I was collecting cards, and when like Gen 2 came out, I kind of came out of Pokemon. I didn't like of the, I didn't like the look of the new Pokemon that came out because I was young and I just thought, oh, they're not Pokemon that I know, so I kind of patched it. But then when I turned 20, I started playing. I went and bought a Game Boy Color, and I bought the cartridge for Pokemon Red, and I played it. And then ever since then, I was hooked. I was back on it and total mad for it. So that was like around Black and White, Plasma Storm. That's when ever since then I've just been Pokemon daft, collecting cards, buying and selling here and there, but mostly buying and collecting and investing more so. Um, so how long have you been in it roughly? Like, did you start when you were really young, or is it only since later on you kind of got into it more so?
Yeah. So like playing the card game, I got into that around 8 years ago. So that would have been basically 2015. And that would have been when I think Furious Fist had just came out, was like the set I just
Yeah,
remembered coming out. But interesting story, like even before that, I was involved in Pokemon, not as far back as like base set, because I wasn't actually even alive. I'm only 20, so I didn't get to experience some of the like really, really old. But like most people that went to like elementary school probably got involved one way or another. Like people just started bringing Pokemon cards to school, and this would have been around, I want to say, like Platinum Arceus to like Heart Gold Soul Silver era. And I think I had gotten Soul Silver on DS like pretty young, but I was just so bad I could never figure out how to get past the first gym. But some friend just like gave me this Combi from one of the Platinum sets, and like I was obsessed with this Combi. And then once he kind of showed me his binder, I just loved it. Like I just loved the cards, and we would throw them and not take care of them or anything like that.
yeah.
So I guess I've been in Pokemon since like third grade. So third grade to about fifth grade was when I had my like really young collecting years, and then my family ended up moving from California to Maryland, and right before I moved to Maryland, I had basically lost all interest and sold all of it. So I guess my start was in like Platinum and Heart Gold Soul Silver trading card era,
Yeah.
and then my reinvention was more towards the first half of XY.
Right, right. And do you still have? Like, did you sell all of your cards from that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I sold. I'm, I'm gonna throw out an exact number here, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I sold my entire childhood collection for a whopping $5.75. So I
Wow.
was quite the entrepreneurial genius at 12 years old. I just remember like I had, it's funny. I had done like basically the equivalent of bulk lots, but actually put ultra rares and stuff into them at a garage sale that my family was running before we
Right.
left. And some guy came up and I was like, I want $10 for these lots. And he just swindled me. He was like, I'll give you a quarter for each. And I didn't know how to say no. So I was just
Yeah.
like, sure,
Oh,
sure.
what a shame. You got done. Oh, that's fine. Obviously, you've got like I can see in your background, you've got a lot of product there, and it does look mostly newer stuff, doesn't it? Or do you still like have any old stuff that you've maybe bought recently or over the last few years? Do you still kind of go for vintage, or are you mainly stocking up what you get from your stockist kind of thing?
Yeah, interestingly enough, right next to me, I have some older things from a collection I bought. So if I acquire older stuff, it's primarily going to be from collection buys.
Right.
Most of the new, I've primarily dealt in modern products and modern singles just because it's what I know and it's, the most common. So I'll do anything. I love finding collections that are older because to me, it's kind of sentimental to like when I'm going through and pricing out cards, I see different things that are really fun. And for me too, as a competitive player, like one of my hobbies is to build the old decks that I used to play with in like
Yeah.
2017, 2016. So even though that's not really like old school, I mean, going through bulk from the XY era and seeing cards like Battle Compressor or
Yeah.
Ultra Ball, or Muscle Band, those bring back memories to me. So
Right.
that's fun. But yeah, I'm open to kind of acquiring anything. And in terms of like old sealed product, I think the oldest sealed product I have in my possession is probably I have a Plasma Storm like promo box of some sort
Right.
that's still sealed. So that would probably be the oldest sealed product I have. And then as for
Mm.
singles, like I probably have some base set cards lying around.
Yeah, yeah. I've still got all my cards that I had when I was young, and my first Charizard I got was the base set two. I actually haven't got base set, but I've got the Shadowless Charizard, not first edition, unfortunately. But and I've got that in the PSA 8. That's one of my holy grails that I've got, and I bought that must be 10 years ago. I bought that
Mhm.
FeeBay like for £65. So, holding on to it. And I actually only graded it 2 years ago, and it still got an A, which I was pretty chuffed about considering I had
That's
it.
amazing.
So yeah, it's one of my little grails that I've got. I just want to ask you, see this screen? Can I make this bigger?
The zoom screen.
Yeah, because like even if it was like half and half, how do I do that?
Um, I think
Oh,
the
maybe
top
I can
right,
just
if
make
you
it
go
bigger.
to
Maybe I
yeah,
just
if you
make it
go to
bigger.
top right and hit view, and I think you go gallery view, then that will split us a little bit more evenly.
Okay. Yes, that's the one. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, no
A bit
problem.
more professional looking than me just in the little corner there. Cool. But yeah, so like what are your plans at the minute? Obviously you've just been away and you did some studying and that was with finance. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And like is your plan to do like financial advising in long term? Are you still planning to do the lab TCG? Well, obviously I personally really missed your content while you're away, but obviously you're doing what you're doing, which is really important and stuff. Um, how do you like introduce? How are you going to introduce it all back again with in keeping with your financial advisory that you plan on doing? Is it going to be difficult for you to manage it all? Do you think?
Yeah. So the start of the pandemic was an interesting time for me. I pretty much got very obsessive about businesses and learning like wealth creation and finance. So, prior to the pandemic, my sole focus was just being a competitive Pokemon player. And the pandemic, once it took that away from me, I kind of was able to focus in on some things I'm passionate about, got really into stocks and investing. And like Pokemon was just second to that. So it's interesting to kind of see the financial world and the Pokemon world kind of mixed during 2020. I wish I knew what I knew now back then because I probably would have done
Yes.
things very differently. But no, I mean I interned at a company in Seattle for about 6 months. I'm still with that company and still working with them now as
That's-
a financial analyst. So for me, it's been a balancing act of work, passion projects like the business and content creation, and then I'm still in school as well. So
Really.
my planned graduation is summer, but I don't do too much other than those three things.
Mhm.
So it's kind of an
That's a
always
lot
going
though.
on. Yeah, it's
It's not
kind
a
of a
lot going
balancing act.
on. Yeah.
And for me, the business, there is an aspect to it that is very profit driven, because not only do I get to be around things that I love, but I also get to make some additional money doing so.
Yeah.
But ever since I've run the Lab TCG, I've invested pretty much every dollar I've made back into the business. So it's
Right.
been a growing, I started this business with like $500 and it's amassed to what it is now,
Yeah.
just by always reinvesting the profits that I got.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a passion project, and that's why I haven't really ramped up like my YouTube production schedule or anything like that to 2 uploads, 3 uploads a week.
Yeah.
It's for me, I don't want to commit to 2, 3 uploads a week and then not be able to deliver. Where right
Yeah.
now, just because I've amassed so much experience doing this, it's actually pretty simple for me to turn on the webcam, decide a topic, and just like talk for
Yeah.
15 minutes. So that's why the content creation part is pretty easy for me, and I'm pretty happy that people get a lot out of it. And like with my thumbnails and stuff, I'm not too intricate about making sure that they're optimized for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So for me, it's super simple. Turn on the camera, record for 15 minutes, replace the text in my thumbnail, and just kind of rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
So that's really the main reason I don't ramp up the YouTube right now. I would love to, but I think by like the end of summer, if I can kind of get school graduated and finished, that will give me a lot more time to kind of work on all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's just curious, obviously, like from someone like who would one day would love to have a become a stockist and have an online website, and that's what I want to do one day. At the minute, I'm just selling cards on eBay. So to hear like someone that's already in it and you're doing multiple other things, is if I was to do it and go into it, I would still need to work full time. So kind of understanding like how to manage the business and your life in general. I
Mhm.
don't know. For me, it seems daunting just going into it and actually making that commitment and putting yourself out there with the stockist and trying to do all that. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels good to someone who's on the fence of it all. So take the plunge and go for it, because obviously you're coping with it and you're doing your school, you're doing your job and your YouTube and everything else. So no, it's good
Yeah,
to know. And it
I,
sounds
I
like
think
you're
that
coping well with it and it's going good.
yeah, I think the thing to add there for clarity to the audience is, for me, my focus on the other two things doesn't make me as hyper focused about profits and like maximizing my time doing what I am. So, my profits when I was doing this full time with work and no school, because there was a period of time I was doing that, my profits were way higher than they were now. My sales volume was way higher because I just had so much more time to focus.
Yeah,
Where now, I haven't sold since I've gotten back to, I sold a few booster boxes, but I haven't sold singles because one, I've been kind of revamping the whole
yeah,
inventory you see behind, just like trying to make sure everything's audited and sorted correctly to make sure that the process going forward is much smoother. But I haven't sold in a while, and hence so my profits have decreased. But
yeah,
because I work, it's not that big of a deal to me. And I've had like, even though I have a distributor, I've never spent enough money on products that aren't considered favorable. So like booster boxes or like trainer boxes.
right.
Or sorry, I've only spent money on those. So not spending money on sleeve boosters or battle stadiums or anything like that.
Yeah.
They won't increase my allocations for the booster boxes and other stuff. Which for Scarlet and Violet, I did order stuff. So we'll see how that works out. But
All right.
for
So
now, like
cool.
my distribution volume is never more than like a case or two of anything. And I kind of have customers already set up that I just, send those to. So
Okay.
there, this business for me kind of operates on autopilot at the moment, where I think if I had less focus, I could be way more into it.
Yeah. See, when you first started, did you do like a lot of marketing for it to obviously get the Lab TCG name out there? Like, what kind of things did you do, or if any, to do?
Yeah, actually none. So I
Oh,
think one of the things that I've prided myself on is I've actually never used paid marketing, other than purchasing like things on Fiverr or having my friends commission the artwork that goes to the channel. So non-branding related marketing, I've done none. And I think as inspiration to anyone out there, or even maybe yourself, I'm a huge believer in like social media as your marketing platform.
yeah.
And for me, like 99% of the sales that came through my Shopify site were from YouTube. So over the past year, I grew a channel from 0 to like 3,200 subscribers. And, you know, primarily those are business owners, but there's also a lot of just Pokemon enjoyers.
Yeah.
And that converted through my website. So, and I guess kind of the beauty of the business too is if you don't want to open your own store, you can use TCG Player, eBay, Amazon, and you don't need to do any marketing because they've done all the marketing
Yeah.
for you. So that is the trade-off you have when you're paying kind of those high fees. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually been able to do this business with pretty much no marketing.
That's see to be in that situation. That's obviously really good, and obviously your YouTube channel has really helped you do that. Like when you first started the YouTube channel, did you expect to have this effect? And obviously, your channel grew so quickly. I've watched every video of yours and probably commented, liked everyone as well. Did you expect that? Did you expect the boom of it? Because really, it has, and probably if you would have carried on, it would have been probably even further down the line. But obviously, you would want to do,
Right.
yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Is
I will.
expected?
Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you because I think you've been here since like 5 or 10 subscribers, or maybe
Yes.
even before that. So like you
I
were
think like
super
it was
early
four.
on.
I think it was four. I had in
Okay.
my mind it was four. Yeah. I was
Yeah. Like I remember the first Discord member um was a guy with a panda image, and I won't say his name for privacy, but and then I remember you were a very early on commenter. So to be honest, at the time when I started my channel, I didn't expect this to happen. I've run YouTube channels for most of my youth. I mean, like I ran gaming channels with no webcam where I was an absolute squeaker and like, my
yeah.
voice is super high pitched. I
Yeah.
used to do Pokemon pack opening videos where I wouldn't show my face and I would just kind of um, open packs in front of
Yeah.
a camera. I've done YouTube videos where when I was a competitive Pokemon player, I would walk people through how to play different decks, and none of them had ever had success. And in my kind of development period over the pandemic, I kind of got really interested in Gary V or Gary Vaynerchuk's like mantra of document the process.
Yeah.
It's something to look back on and something to reflect. And really, one of the reasons I didn't start sooner was I was afraid of how people would view my opinions. I was so concerned that I wasn't some multi-million-dollar company providing information that no one would want to hear what I would have to say. And then when I gave my opinion on something, if it was wrong, people would criticize me. So there was a little bit of scare there. But for me, the documentation of like, okay, where am I now and where do I want to be in the next couple of years really spoke to me. And I think like the first 3 videos on my channels are very like bad title, bad thumbnail. I'm going to walk through my profit and loss statement and just kind of talk about what's going on right now. And then I made a video about reselling the trainer toolkits and kind of how I would break down product. And that
Yes, I
was like
remember.
probably one of my first really more thought out videos. And over time, I started to try and be like, okay, well, I think I'm doing enough volume to where I can hold my own. And I do want to kind of create like documentation of what I've been doing over time. Because like now, even though I've taken 6 months off, I can go back to my old videos and see what I was
Yeah.
talking about at the time. So for me, like I didn't really expect it to go anywhere. I figured if I stayed consistent enough at it that, I'd get a few people subscribing. And when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I was just appalled because with so many YouTube channels, it was like such a milestone for me. Like, oh wow, I actually did it.
Yes.
Um,
I
and
know.
to my surprise, when I moved to Seattle, um, the in between the 6 months I was gone, I actually gained more subscribers than I had done when I was uploading. And to me, like I would be refreshing the YouTube app and I would see not only like ad revenue coming in from people watching the videos, but also the subscriber growth just month
Yeah.
over month growing. And I was sitting there like, I'm not even uploading. Like, how is this possible? So and then when I come back, the first video I make is like the best video I've made in months by YouTube ranking.
Yes.
And I think my subscribers this month has increased by 500. So
Just this month.
like
That's well.
yeah, I mean, it was I mean, the month's not even over technically. It's just
No. Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
how much support and how much people love the content. So,
Mhm.
yeah, in summary, I had no idea it was going to get this far. And it really just started as I wanted to showcase my journey as a Pokemon business owner.
I mean, like for me, like I remember searching for YouTube before you had actually started uploading
Yeah.
and like I was typing Pokemon business and seeing what would come up because the sort of things I wanted to know about was like packaging and stuff like that. What kind of size of boxes I'm needing to get, and there wasn't many. at all that really did that. I remember starting. I watched Pokejebble. I think it was.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
I watched him
He's
for a
great.
bit, but then he stopped uploading, and then as soon as you came onto the scene, yeah, then you're my guy. You know what I mean? So I've always kind of felt if I've got any questions when it comes to the stage, if I am going to be taking this plunge into going for it and doing the business and stuff, then I would love to pick your brain even more so when that time comes, kind of thing. But no, it was a definite eye opener. And I remember, I think I left a comment on one of your videos and said, "Oh, you'll be hitting 10,000 in the next year" or something like that. But it is definitely doing really well, which is great to see as well.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, Pokejebble was a good resource. I watched him for a little bit because there were so many channels like you had mentioned. Because I did the same thing. I mean, for
Mhm.
years I've been looking up like how to run a business, how to do a card business,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you discovered this, but like Darium's CCGs, back in the day, they used to do like day in the life card store videos and all this
Oh, did
stuff.
they?
That was
Right.
like a big inspiration for me back then. They don't do that anymore, I don't think, but for a while they were like a magic store. And Pokemon, like, didn't there wasn't enough content, so I would just anything I could find. If there was a Yu-Gi-Oh video about running a card store, I would look at it. If there's a Magic video, like Rudy Alpha Investments, some of his really
Yeah.
early videos were more nitty gritty about like finance as a whole concept and kind of how it applies to Pokemon. So I did think there was kind of a gap, and interestingly enough, 2020 kind of brought the surge of people that do Pokemon type businesses. But you're right, Pokejebble was pretty interesting because he was a young guy that somehow
Mhm.
acquired a Japanese distribution,
Yes.
and he exploded. I mean, he had 1,500 subscribers when I found him, and I think
Yeah.
right now he's at like 5 to 10 or something. And yeah,
Mhm.
right, he doesn't upload anymore. So there definitely was a like a lack of information at the time.
Like touching on Japanese, like, have you ever thought of trying to find a Japanese distributor? Do you think that would be something that you would try and consider one day, or maybe do?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, because I played competitive Pokemon, I actually know some of the better Japanese players over there. So it's something I haven't tapped into those connections yet. I have a few Pokemon people I know that live in the States that go to Japan quite often, and it's a big part of their business. But the research that I did for Japanese Pokemon distributors just kind of always led to a brick wall.
Yes.
And I thought about actually just reaching out to Jebbles and being like, hey,
Yeah.
I see you don't upload
Yeah.
anymore. Like,
Mm.
what's going on? But no, for me, it's always been kind of a black box. I've experimented with some of the middleman services like Buy and
Mhm.
Zen Market, but just the amount of fees and the time it takes for stuff to get here, I just
Yeah.
kind of decided it wasn't super worth my time.
I mean, like that put me off. I remember I was a few months ago. I was looking on buying, thinking, yeah, I could maybe pick up that. Pokemon Center didn't actually have too much at the time, but then I
Right.
thought, how long am I going to get this, and how long am I actually going to be able to churn this product out? And then I was comparing how much it's going to cost me here in the UK on eBay, and if it's like say for another 20 quid. So basically, here in the UK, I could pick up a Japanese booster box for around 60 quid, loads of 60 quid. And obviously, MSRP must be like 30, 35. I think it would
Uh,
equate in yen.
yeah,
I think it's,
I think it's like I think it's like 5,000 or wow, I think it's 49,000 yen,
yeah,
which for me would be like 49 US or a little bit lower.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it's around that area.
yeah. And then I think, well, even if you were to crack the box, sell the packs individually, you can, potentially make more than that anyway. So you can still make money on it,
Mhm.
even though I was buying it from here in the UK. So I've got a few things in my mind, like if I was to do it, and like one of them would be I'd like to have a pop up shop, obviously, as well as having your online business and making that happen. But I would like to think, have you seen what's his name, Pokinav? Is it Pokinav?
Yeah.
He he did, and basically, I think not Pokinav. He does more. He's like a financial advisor as well, isn't he? Um, I can't remember the name. Poki Ne.
Yep.
Yes, and have you seen his Vice video?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, in that Vice video, he has a pop-up shop in the towns in the mall and that. Well, I kind of thought about that concept, and obviously not doing it as regularly as he did. But if you were able to do that, 4 times a year or something, out trying to rinse your product out and get rid of I don't know. I would love to try and incorporate that kind of module as well as having an online business kind of
Mhm.
thing. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's interesting because with the Japanese product in a pop-up shop, like that's not something people see. Where if you bring a
yeah,
bunch of English product to a pop-up shop, like they'll probably do pretty well, but there's not that appeal of like, oh, this is weird, this is different. Where
mm,
Japanese or foreign product in general in a US or EU
yeah,
store, like they're gonna be like, whoa, like what is this? I would be willing to pay more for that because
yes,
I don't know what this is. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a good point.
I mean, a lot of people I speak to in my local community and stuff as well, um, that oh, one minute, I've got a thing up, pop up come up here.
Yeah, it looks like we have 10 minutes remaining.
10 minutes already. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can just edit them together, so we can go out of this and you can just reinvite me.
Right. Cool. That's fine. Um, so yeah, like my local community doesn't, obviously there's no Japanese or anything. We in Scotland where I'm in Stirling specifically, and we have a game store and we have another LGS, which is kind of small and he charges a bit more than that MSRP. So there's definitely a gap in the market in my local area of having someone in the online website, because everywhere seems to be there. There's other LGSs in nearer areas, but not with such high volume of Pokemon. They're doing like Magic, they're doing Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pops and everything else. But I
Mhm.
want to kind of become a focus point of Pokemon in this area. If I can have Japanese product and English product, be it slabs, I want to go for it. I want to see what I can do. So that's where my mind's at with in terms of my dream, if you like. But yeah, I definitely think Japanese it would be an interesting way to go about it because, like you said, little kids aren't gonna, they'll be like, oh, it's Japanese kind of thing. Yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it. But anyway,
Yeah, I remember being young and finding Japanese cards at the school grounds and kind of being like, oh, like what? I mean, at the
yeah,
time, I don't even know that I knew what Japanese was, so I was pretty
yeah,
shocked. But yeah, you're right. Like if you could get younger kids involved and kind of intrigued by the different characters and this, well, I guess the silver border is not as relevant anymore, but it
yes,
was. There's all the hollow foils are different, and the silver borders, like it's a whole different art style. There's like Japanese exclusives. Like if you could figure out a good way to get that stuff going, then
yeah,
I think you're right. In an area with little Pokemon stores, that would be pretty good.
yeah. No, yeah, that's an idea, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sitting here, brain's ticking if I did that. But yeah, no, cool. So obviously you're selling on eBay, TCG Player, and Amazon as well.
Not anymore, but
Not anymore. So
yeah,
are you kind of mainly focusing on eBay and TCG Player then, or
yep,
is it
yes.
flexible?
So in 2023, I plan on focusing on TCG Player Direct.
Right. Okay. Is that like, would you still do eBay on the side, or
For me to just streamline the process, I think I would do TCG Player Direct solely.
yeah,
There is risk there that like God forbid my account gets banned or something, but
yeah,
I know eBay enough to kind of transition over.
yeah,
But for me, I pre-ordered a card sorting robot, which you might know, and that can scan it can scan the cards and upload
yeah?
them to
I
a
remember you saying.
CSV,
Yeah.
and TCG Player allows you to import CSVs and auto update your inventory. So for me, I'm kind of looking at it as an efficiency standpoint, and also I haven't done the math between TCG Player Direct and eBay, but when you're in the Direct program and if the cards sell through the Direct program, you could usually get like a 10 to 20% markup on those cards versus the
Right.
regular TCG Player price. So the question there is that equal or greater to the eBay markup that you can get on certain cards?
Yeah.
But for me, it's just streamlining it. I mean, by the time I have all this inventory stuff sorted out, I should have 20,000 plus cards. And for me to kind of be swapping through different platforms would be kind of a nuisance. So I want to stick it all on TCG Player, keep it all centrally located. They have a really great backend for inventory,
Right.
in my opinion. And there's all sorts of tools that they have for like mass pricing different stuff. But TCG Player Direct with like price floors on bulk cards is probably the way I would be going.
Right. I see. Cool. And I was on your Lab TCG website earlier, just before we actually started, actually, and like you've got a lot of product in the background there. Is this all stuff that you're going to put on to your website as well, or what's your plans with everything you've
Yeah.
got? Kind of thing?
So the switch in background that occurred recently, there was a lot more product previously. It's all still here. It's just somewhere else. But for me, those are more like investment pieces. I don't talk about the investing side of Pokemon too much on YouTube, just because I think it's kind of a controversial area and highly opinion based.
What
But
do you mean then?
for me, for me, like when I used to play competitive Pokemon, I would win booster boxes. And at the time, I was kind of like a broke high school student that worked part-time at McDonald's, so I would just sell my boxes to vendors for like $70 just to get, food for the night or whatever.
Oh wow, cool.
Kind of living on the edge when I was playing Pokemon, just
Mm,
traveling alone. So, I would just like sell boxes of Cosmic Eclipse for like $70, or I would sell,
wow.
I mean, you name it, from like any of the eras I was playing in. If I won it, I would just sell it. And like looking back, there's a lot of money that could have been with how much that stuff is appreciated. And
Yeah.
even before then, I was at there's a antique mart kind of close to where I lived, and one day I went in there and they had base set Fossil Team Rocket first edition packs, and this was probably 5-6 years ago. That like they were just there, like chilling, $3,
Yeah.
$4 a pack. And we contacted the seller and was like, hey, can we like bulk buy these for $2 a piece or whatever? Got a bunch of packs super cheap. And I sold them all for very good compared to what I bought them at. But looking back, when you're selling lots of those packs for like $600
Yeah.
for, I don't know, a couple, and then you do the math to what that would have been now, and it's like a college tuition.
Makes you
um it
think.
makes you like it makes me think differently. So a
Mhm.
lot of the product that I have is like when the distributors would say, hey, we have this for you, do you want to take it? To me, I view it as like a sunk cost of like, yeah, I'm going to take it to try and increase my spend, but there's no way I'm going to try and sell more Pico V Union boxes and
Yeah.
ship it to California, because I'll just lose money. So I don't necessarily believe in like collection boxes and stuff, but the sealed products inside them, and if you look at most sealed products that have existed, they pretty much always go up in price.
Yeah.
So to me, I see very little, like, the only purpose I would liquidate is to have more cash to continue reinvesting in the business. But you know
Yes.
uh like Evolving Skies, for example, I made a video. I have a case with my cost at like $90 a box, and I was able to sell it for like 1,600 after fees in a year or two. So I have a much longer time horizon than that, but
Yeah.
the power of compounding of like how much these things appreciate over time is just crazy. And I want to be the person in 10 years that can like look at a warehouse of, I don't
Yeah.
know, chilling rain ETBs and just be
Yeah.
happy.
No, definitely. Funny enough, today's my birthday, and
Oh, really? Happy
yeah,
birthday.
32. I'm getting on, but I actually picked up a Chilling Rain booster box today. One of my Chaos cards. Don't know if you've heard of Chaos cards. It's quite
Yeah.
big in the UK, and £122 I got it for in the end. So I had a £5 voucher that gave me a discount because it's my birthday. So I used that, and yeah, 122 quid. So I do think Chilling Rain, though, in the next year or so, I do think it's going to go up, because the value in a lot of these cards in Chilling Rain, there's like 10 that are over £20, £30 here. So it's definitely one I think to have inventory of for sure. But I keep looking at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No,
worried
but
about that.
to wrap up this point before we hop into the other stuff with the time ending, I think like sealed product in general, you really cannot go wrong. I mean,
No.
I think a good example, like right here, is these Battle Academy boxes of something that like they just said, hey, we have extra of these and we'd like you to take them. I don't believe in Battle Academy boxes in the short term. I mean, there's no way. Like they're already selling less than what a wholesale cost would be. But in 10 years, someone could want that Battle Academy box that got them into the game.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think if I had to pick a product that was like least likely to appreciate, it would be those.
Yeah.
But you never know. And when my cost into those things is like 20-25 bucks, um, I don't know. I like keeping it around, and it's really decorative. Like I like having
Yes. No,
little cool things to look at.
yeah, there's
So
a
yeah, big,
Charizard and all the rest of it.
yeah. I don't know how much I'll say it on my channel in the future, but for the Finding Charizard watchers, I'm a huge advocate for holding on to
Yes.
sealed product. It's very important that you prioritize your goals, because if your goal is to grow as a business, you shouldn't hold inventory like that,
No,
because you're
definitely.
basically just choking your cash flow.
Yeah. No, no, definitely. I mean, like if I always try and say in my videos, if you're new to Pokemon, just start off with sealed investment before you start looking at grading cards and stuff. Just have a basic knowledge of what sells and what's the best sets are to go for, and look at those products. But yeah, no, definitely. I think we're both looking at that. What will happen? Will it just like shut down like the video or?
Yeah, I think he'll kick us out, and then just send me another invite code and we can join back in.
So yeah, like I was saying, I got that for free basically. How did I get? I got it. I do a COVID survey test every month, and every month you get a £20 voucher. So I picked that up from Argos today. Happy days, and one of my birthday presents. I'll be cracking these open at some point. I'll probably
Nice.
just turn them into shorts or something like that. But yeah, little pickups, happy days. Um, I wanted to ask you about what's your strongest platform that you use? Obviously, you use Amazon, eBay, and TCG Player. Is TCG Player your most prominent one that you would say you take the most cash flow from, or?
Yeah, I think by just the amount of volume I've done over time with TCG Player on a like a per card basis, is probably TCG Player. For me, I did a little bit of reselling of like non-trading card game stuff on eBay, which made my eBay numbers go pretty high for a little bit. But yeah,
Mhm.
generally speaking, trading card games wise, it was TCG Player.
Right, cool. Um, so with your company, you must have gone through some challenges and stuff, I imagine, or has it all been kind of straightforward, easy going? Because going into it, to me, it seems like I'd have all this inventory, and I think, oh Christ, I've got to sell all this, and I'd worry about that. I would worry about that. But obviously, you've said that it's been very natural because of the YouTube really helped you along the way with that. But did
Mm.
you have any like big issues or challenges along the way of your business journey, if you like?
Yeah, I've had so many. I mean, maybe I make it look too easy, or I should do more story time videos. But um, yeah, I mean, so many to count. I mean, there's like customer relations can be its own bucket of challenges and failures, and then there's of course there's like operational issues as well. Whether that was like what like I think one of the funniest ones was probably a month into doing all this. I had set up everything. I had kind of grown out of that initial collection that I bought. For those that don't know, I started this business with a $500 collection I bought off Facebook. So once I kind of grew out of that, kind of got involved a little bit more in selling other cards, I had actually run out of top loaders. At the time, I was using top loaders for my business, and my volume on TCG Player was just ramping up so fast to where maybe I did like one order a day, and then it was getting pretty consistent, like 30 orders a day. And I didn't realize it, but I ran out of top loaders. And I'm sitting here with a TCG Player pending tab of like 30 orders with no top loaders, and I was just
Oh
like,
Christ.
oh no, like oh my god, what do I do? And I'm hyper obsessive over delivery speed and shipping times. Like
Yes, I would be as well.
I do not want any negative feedbacks. I have driven through snowstorms to get to my local post office to make sure that orders go out. Like I've probably done a little bit too much risk on that
Yeah.
side. Like I probably shouldn't have done that. But I try to stay customer focused. Is one of the mottos of my website. But yeah, so I'll go at great lengths to, if I can, get things out within 24 hours. But yeah, I ran out of top loaders and I was like, dang it, I don't know what to do. And this was before I was using like cardboard cutouts or anything. So to me, top loaders was the only way.
Yeah.
And I just remember messaging everyone I knew in my local area that was involved in cards. I messaged TCG stores. I was like, hey, do you guys have top loaders? This was during the top loader shortage too. So no card store had top loaders. And finally, I found one of my friends that I played competitive Pokemon with, who had a bunch of top loaders, and he had to get off work at like 3 or something, and he had like 20 or 30 or something, whatever, enough to cover that day's orders. And
Okay.
I was like, please, I need the top loaders, like I'll even pay you for them. He's like, no, no, don't worry about it. So I drove like 30 minutes to get to this guy's house, got all the top loaders, brought him back, turned off my TCG Player store, and then shipped out all the cards. So like that was more of an operational issue. In terms of like customer returns, I've been scammed more times than I'd like to admit. I mean,
I think
my
you mentioned one on the channel.
yeah, when I was 14, I had a Shopify store called Kanto Cards, and basically I found out a way locally to get a bunch of sealed product, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I was selling stuff at like cost with free shipping. So I was basically
Okay.
losing money, but I
Yeah.
had a fun time. Like it was,
Mm.
an introduction to e-commerce. And I, I shipped like a $700 order to Liverpool, and I thought everything was peachy, because like 2 months went by and never heard anything of it, and I had shipped to Malaysia before, so I wasn't
Yeah.
too worried about the international stuff. But 2 months later, I'm like waiting in line at a Starbucks with my family, and I get an email from Shopify saying like, hey, a customer has issued a chargeback. You have this many days to submit a claim against this chargeback, and we're gonna take the funds from you immediately. So they
Right.
took, instantly took back $700 in funds. And I was, I didn't really know what to do. I was 14, so I
Yeah.
messaged the people that had bought from me. I was like, hey, the stuff that says delivered, it's been 2 months. Like, why am I getting this claim? Of course, they didn't ever respond to that. So I tried to contact Shopify and say, like, hey, why is this happening? How could the order be fraudulent? They've had it for 2 months. And Shopify actually didn't side with me. So for a long time, I didn't like using Shopify because I've just felt burnt by that experience.
Yeah.
And in the end, I had to submit a bunch of information about, the tracking number and some other stuff, which probably wasn't as detailed as it could have been, to be honest. But I've learned now, because this is not the first time, or this was the first time, but this was not the last time that this happened to me, that chargebacks just occur and there's not a whole lot you can do against some of them. But yeah, I ended up losing $700 that time. I think the story that's on my YouTube channel, if I recall correctly, um, I started posting on Instagram that I, was running a business. I put out some stuff, and like one of the things I did was I said like I'm buying bulk, put a link to my website, and someone contacted me through Instagram with like 60,000 bulk cards, and I was like, yes, like so much bulk. I'm gonna have so much fun going through this.
Yeah.
He said like, hey, I want to wait till like after the holidays or something to make sure all the stuff gets out, and he ended up sending it, and I had kind of guided him a little bit on how to package it, but I figured he was going to pack it more than what I was advising him. But he took what I said word for word and did, bubble wrap on the outside of the cards, but nothing to protect in between.
Right.
So just
Mm.
imagine a box that's just cards stacked and stacked and stacked on top of each other, but in like very narrow, or not narrow, but like very close together.
Yeah.
And in the US, USPS is not the great with package handling. I mean, I don't know that any of this delivery services are.
Yeah.
And I got these 3 pound, like I got these boxes of bulk that were just completely destroyed. I mean, I was going through it, and they were all like, a lot of them were lightly played, moderately played. They had just, in the transit, they had just rubbed against each other, so they just scraped.
Okay.
Um, and I tried to be honest with the guy and be like, hey, like I had a policy on my website where if the bulk doesn't, show up in near mint, I can dispose of it or I can send it back to you. I tried to salvage what I could out of it, spent hours going through the collection. And of course he was not happy to hear this, because it was
No.
like, one, you advised me on how to send it. Um, Two, I trusted you. This is the first time I've done something online, and like you're a new seller. Three, like the amount of pictures you sent me isn't enough. Um, so, I tried to send him some more pictures. I even had a GoPro on my head recording all the unboxing. So I have all the footage and stuff of me doing this stuff.
Yeah.
But he was super suspicious of like, I sent you all these cards. You're saying that most of it's damaged. Like, how do I know that you're not just going to list all this stuff as slightly played on TCG Player? And I'm like, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to budge on these are my policies. I'm not sending this back because
No.
now I'm going to be out $60. At the
Yeah.
time, the $60 was a lot more relevant than it is now. But after, a string of 24 emails with him, I just decided, I need to focus on him. I can understand he trusted me and he's not satisfied. So I'm just going to send back all the damaged product and pay him for whatever I
Right.
could.
Yeah.
And in the end, like, that eased it. I'm sure that left a bitter taste in his mouth, but we worked it out, and he's at least satisfied to not tarnish my reputation or anything. So that was that. And then even with the lab TCG business, I've had 2 cases where people have filed chargeback claims through my Square Online site, and then
Yeah.
more recently Shopify claim. So there's Shopify now has implemented fraud detection and fraudulent chargeback protection, which is amazing. But of course, it's very, very specific on what those use cases are, and they're still going to be kind of hesitant to help you because they need to pay out. But at least there is some protection. But yeah, those are probably like some of the biggest areas I've struggled with. Is, I've been scammed out of, I think it's like $2,000 at this point. And then, I mean, I think every seller has to deal with feedback ratings and stuff, which I'm generally pretty good about dealing with those. I've
Yeah.
worked in customer service for a decent amount of time, and I'm pretty willing to just refund orders straight up
Yeah.
if they're not satisfied. But yeah, I'd say those are probably the two biggest pain points I've had. And then the third one would be just like distribution. I wish I could get better product and more of it, but I know that just having the distribution is like lucky in itself. So yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, like when you were away doing your financial advising and stuff, how did that, like, did your supplier want you to carry on buying stuff? Were they okay that you were taking a break, or how, how did that go down, kind of thing?
They never found that out. I continued to, so I moved to Seattle in June, got back like mid-December, so I was gone for about 5 months. And with the wholesaler, I just strictly ordered booster boxes. And I have a brother that I would just buy the boxes. I had people set up as buyers already. I would have them delivered to my house, and then I would just go online, ask my brother for the dimensions and the weight of the box because I have scales and stuff to do all this.
Right.
He would give those to me. I'd print out labels on pirate ship, and then he would just apply the labels and ship them on my behalf. So in a way, I was like drop shipping product. Uh,
Yeah.
but the volume was low. It was just a case or two every set, and the margins were low too because I wasn't super worried about getting the maximum. I just wanted to make sure I still was buying and that the people on the
Yeah.
other end were happy with what they were getting. So that's kind of how I continued it.
Right. And obviously, having a supplier and stuff, how does it work? Obviously, I know of here in the UK, there's Asmodee and there's Mudlet, which are the two that I know of. And I know Asmodee, they have like an online portal, and you select what you want, kind of thing. Like in your case, is it very much the same? Is it like an e-commerce site? You select what you want, or is it done by phone, or how is that
Yeah.
all kind of done?
Yeah, the two methods are that I use at least are email and what the website. So for most pre-orders and stuff, it comes through email. They'll just email and say like, hey, we have this in stock or we have this on pre-order. Like email me back with your order, and then we'll situate it from there. So most of the orders I do are through the email actually, but there's been a few times where if they do restock something, it's through the web portal, and
Right.
like any other e-commerce site, you just kind of go on and buy it.
Yeah. So obviously, with all that going on, because obviously, like, would you take, like, every day? Would you have orders from eBay, TCG Player, from your website? Could it all, like, roughly in when it was at its peak, you could say how many orders would you have to deal with a day, kind of thing?
Um, there were definitely a few days where I had 50 orders on TCG Player alone. Um, I would say like 50 would be a cap.
Right.
Like if I had to put an average on it, it would be 50. I think my sales history on TCG Player is actually maybe it's 2,800 feedback. It's either
Yeah.
2,800 sales or 2,800 feedback, and I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
Um,
I had to look earlier. I couldn't remember. Yeah. I think, yeah. 2.8 though. You're right.
yeah, if it's feedback, then I've done a lot more sales. If it's sales, then that's how much I've done. On eBay, I think I have like 900 something sales. So the peak of my business wasn't for very long because I would say the peak was probably November and December 2021.
Right.
Because in January is when I re-enrolled in school. So my focus towards the business decreased a lot. But November 21, December 21 was crazy. I mean, 50 orders a day, especially leading up to Christmas.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I were to average it like across all of time, probably 20 orders a day. And of course, right now it's 0, so that average is just going to keep lowering.
Right.
But yeah, and interestingly enough, Shopify actually accounts for the least amount of my sales
Right.
because usually I only put a small amount of product, maybe 20 boxes or like whatever the pre-order is. So once those are kind of gone, I rarely get like restock emails for large amounts of stuff. So I don't actually do much volume through the Shopify store. It's just more personal branding, plus like it has the lowest cost structure on it when I'm actually selling.
Right, I see. So, see, like you mentioned earlier that you've got a order of sword, not sword and shield, Scarlet and Violet coming in. Like, how much of that would you get in, and how much of that would actually see the website? Because I remember you said that you've already got people that are wanting to buy these already. So,
Yeah. So for this time around, I think my pre-order for Scarlet and Violet is around $15,000, and I put down a pretty substantial amount of my own business's money, and then took pre-orders on behalf of two clients that I'm working with. One I've been working with for a while, and the new one I just started working with. So this is the first time he's ordered. So I have enough cash to cover it just in case they back out or anything. But this time, compared to the other times I've ordered, that order was comprised of sleeved boosters and check lane blisters and build battle kits and battle stadiums. So I tried to allocate the funds that I was dedicating uh, to other products instead of just booster boxes, because historically I would submit $15,000 solely on booster boxes and elite trainer boxes, which maybe that's 28 cases of booster boxes. Maybe that math is right, and I would get two. So like that's happened multiple times, where even though I have the funds to cover it, I'm not getting allocated the product. And this time I wanted to try and spread out the product allocate, or like the product lines themselves, because I've heard from more experienced sellers that the way you increase your allocations of booster boxes is that you increase your 6-month spend. And maybe this order I only get one case of each product, but if I get one case of each product on a total line, that's going to be way more in spend compared to the times I was just buying two cases. So the next time around with whatever Scarlet and Violet 2 is, the increase might be more. So it's going to be interesting because I've never actually done this. I've never taken a main set release and bought a bunch of other non-booster box products.
right,
So it'll be something interesting to talk about on the channel for sure,
yeah,
because I'm kind of curious to see myself how it goes. So
yeah,
I would say best case for me is I would hope that I can get one case of each product. Each person that I'm working with can get one case of product, and then maybe I have like 2 or 3 cases of booster boxes left over. But it's totally possible that they just say like, nope, you can have 2 cases of boxes and one case of each other thing. So we'll
right.
see. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see. So, if you can, talk me through how your day would look like. Obviously, you've been business owner, and you know your orders step by step. Like, kind of like, what would that look like to you?
Yeah. Would you like the current, or like when I was doing the business kind of like full time in conjunction with work?
Full-time conjunction of work, because
Sure.
I'm asking like to put in my perspective of how I can do that, because I've got 2 kids and I need a full-time job. So how did you manage all those things yourself, kind of thing?
Yeah. So I don't have kids, and I guess my answer to this might not work out quite as well, because my answer to this is I don't do a whole lot of like social activities. I mean, I've been so focused on growing my skill sets and developing myself that I don't go out much. I don't like eat out much. So for me, cutting out social activities gives me so much more time to focus on
Yeah.
some of the stuff that's really important to me. With kids, you cannot, I would hope you're not going to do that.
No,
So it doesn't quite work that way. But a day in the life of me working, at the time I was working a job that allowed me to work 4 days, 10 hours each, which is awesome because I can essentially live like split lives. So four
yeah,
days I'm working 10 hours, and then at night I can come home and work on the business. And then the other 3 days are fully focused on the business.
right,
So living that kind of split schedule was really advantageous.
yeah,
Where, I think working like a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, you don't have that extra day, but you got to, you might lose a little bit of sleep. You're staying up, and this business like takes a lot of work. I mean, when you're sorting cards, to me, I hate sorting, and that's why I bought a robot to do it. But
yeah,
if it's to the scale where you can hire people to do it on your behalf, you can set up networks in your local area to have people do whatever
yeah,
tasks you don't want to do. But for me, I wanted to try and maximize all the value, and at the time, my time wasn't worth as much as it is now. So I would just like all my free time just put back into this. So I would say for me, my order flow was usually the last thing I would do in the day. And in the US, post offices close at 5. the last thing I would do is ship out orders. So I would make sure by the end of the day, all of the orders that had accumulated from like the prior day or in that current day would get out. Because with TCG Player, they want a 48-hour window. So pretty much Monday through Friday, excuse me, I would be shipping stuff. And then, by doing it every day, it minimized the amount of buildup over the weekend. So pretty much ending the day and then working backwards would be like all the sending out of the actual orders. Then that hour, 2-3 hours before it would be packaging all the orders. And then depending on kind of what was going on or what inventory I had sourced, I would spend time sorting cards, listing. I mean, a couple things. Like one is you're sorting and receiving. So you get all the inventory in, then I would sort it all out. I usually do by set and then alphabetically. So
Right.
the 2 layers of sort probably take the most time, but sort would be first, then list. So I would have my sorted piles of cards and then individually list them as I was going through the sort process. Then I would stow them into the bins behind me. So, all right, this Call Legend cards goes with Call Legends, XY with
Yeah.
XY. And at that point, it's already listed, then it's already stowed, and then wait for the orders. When the orders come in, I would pick. So usually I would just like put all the backlogged inventory first, then the orders would come in, and that's where I'd kick off the shipping process. And then, any time before that would be time to contact people that had reached out to me regarding collection buys, or watching YouTube and learning. So in chronological order, I would start my day by, waking up, looking at ways to source inventory, learn a little bit on YouTube, whether that's like Pokemon or anything else, then go into the process of sorting, stowing, picking inventory, going into the shipping of inventory, and then finally getting it out. So that would kind of be the day in the life.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So you must shift a lot of like single cards.
Yep.
So like, what kind of cards are they, and like what kind of value are you
Yeah.
shifting? Order kind of thing, roughly.
Yeah. So the like average order value, I would say, is probably like $1.
Right.
I do a lot of bulk. To me, one of the methods you can buy Pokemon cards is to find high value collections and offer 50% of retail or 60% of whatever the lowest listing on TCG Player is.
Yeah.
And to me, I've had, I was very persistent in making sure that I could get past no's or like negotiate to where I could buy those collections. But I always just felt that it was hard to get people to sell collections at those price points to where it's profitable for a
Yeah.
reseller to then sell them. So that's what got me into bulk is, bulk is almost like the lifeblood of card stores. If you ask any local game store what they do with the bulk cards, that's basically the backbone of their business. And once I got really curious about how that all works, I figured I could try and make it work here in my little e-commerce site. Um, so essentially, I would just go on Facebook posts and like say, hey, I'm buying bulk cards for a couple pennies, and then just receive mass amounts of bulk cards. And I would do bulk lots or anything that was over like a quarter, I would list on TCG Player. So I kind of, after looking at cards and looking up card prices for so long, I just kind of developed a mental memory. And with my involvement in the competitive game, that also kind of helped understand what cards are good, and
Yeah.
staying constant with the competitive decks. I would just remember like, oh, this Adventurous Discovery is $1. Not anymore, but at the time it was.
Yeah.
And I would just routinely remember that every time going through Fusion Strikes, sort out whatever cards go to TCG Player. The rest of it just kind of put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then on TCG Player, I would let my price floor be 25 cents because after you do shipping and the cost of materials, it doesn't make sense to really sell below that price point, in my opinion, or at least it's not worth your time. So 25 cents would be my floor. I would say most of the cards that I had in inventory would be like 25 cents to $2. And then the real benefit there is when people order multiple cards from you at the same time, because then, you're still on that fixed shipping and that fixed materials for the one order, but you're stacking 25 cents multiple
Yeah.
times. So, sometimes I would get orders with 20 cards in them. Sometimes I would get them with 30. So it all kind of depends. And like, you get a wide range of people on TCG Player. You have collectors that come in and buy out every single bulk card in a set. Maybe they want all the bulk cards from XY, and they go and pay a quarter on every card that you've acquired for 25 cents.
Yeah.
Or you have competitive players that want a play set, which is 4 cards of Adventurous Discovery or 4 cards of Meloetta or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that would be like the average order value and like the volume too.
Yeah. So like, I say I have really no knowledge of like playing the game and stuff. So obviously this has really helped you in terms of your business, knowing that what cards to identify, what's going to be strong for gameplay, and most likely going to be good cards in the future to play with. And in terms of making money, these are the cards to get.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So in my point of view, that's probably something that I should probably brush up on, is knowing the game better before. Because obviously, if you can, like you said about these cards and stuff that you can sell to competitive players and that, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see how
I,
in bulk and is really important actually to
I
know that.
would I would say, if people or viewers want advice on how you can do that. I mean, I have so much experience at this point. It's kind of just like I just know it.
Yeah, I
But
know.
one way,
Talk so fluently about it, and I think, bloody hell, like
yeah,
it really
one
is. Like your knowledge is really incredible. Like in so many aspects of Pokemon. Yeah, no, it's great.
yeah, one way you can brush up on the skills. And honestly, there was a new website that came out that I'm super excited to talk about. I'll probably make a video about it at some point, that I just love for finding old bulk that's worth money. But in terms of the current game, there's a few websites that are pretty good, and the main one I would recommend, it's actually an EU site, is limitlesstcg.com. They cover all the big tournament results. They even have functions where if you pull up a player's deck list that they did well with the tournament at, it'll
Oh,
show you
cool.
the price points,
Yeah,
from, I think Card Market EU is where they're getting their price points, but maybe it's TCG Player. I can't remember. But you pull up a deck list that did well, and let me think. Right now, Lugia V Star is like one of the best
yeah,
decks. So
yeah,
you can see that the Archeops from Silver Tempest is $1 or $2, and I could be wrong on the prices, but I just know like Archeops is a holo rare, and maybe you just bought a bunch of bulk from Silver Tempest, and now because you've studied Limitless, you're like, oh, this Archeops card is very good, and oh, this uh Evil Tall from Celebrations is really good because it discards all the special energies in play. So by studying Limitless TCG and then watching some of the stream games from some of the tournaments that they broadcast, you can kind of familiarize yourself with cards that are good.
yeah,
Another rule of thumb to kind of think about is, generally speaking, cards that are good, like inherently just strong cards, continue to see play throughout their lifespan. So something that we talked about in my community Discord is Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball was first printed in, I want to say Dark Explorers, which is the black and white set. I could be wrong, but I think it was black and white Ultra Ball. And Ultra Ball has been printed in um,
Sun.
Plasma Blast. It has been reprinted in Legendary Treasures as a secret rare, or actually that might not be right. I think it was Plasma Freeze. It was a secret rare. It was reprinted in Plasma Blast. Then it was printed again in some of the XY sets like Flashfire and Roaring Skies. So this card has been printed over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
no,
And
definitely. Yeah,
most recently, it was printed in Brilliant Stars.
I got it.
And I don't, not that Ultra Ball is like a $5 card, but pretty much every deck that is competitive is going to be playing Ultra Ball because it's so
Yeah,
good. Similarly with Marnie. Marnie is in most decks. Professor's Research is in most decks. So these decks, or these cards that are inherently good in the bulk world, continue to be good as long as they're not niched to one card. So
yeah,
you can just kind of make a short list by comparing different deck lists and say, all right, Marnie, Research, um, Ultra Ball, Quick Ball, like these are all cards that are going to continue to be good throughout their lifetime.
yeah,
And when new sets come out, you can also kind of backtrack and go, oh, this Nest Ball card that's coming out in Scarlet and Violet used to be in Sun and Moon base set. That card was played when Ultra Ball wasn't around. So I know Nest Ball in the future is going to be good. So yeah, Limitless TCG is great. And then the other site that I really like that's relatively new is called PTCG Legends. And this site is basically a visual database of all of the decks that have historically been good in the Pokemon trading card game, dating back to like 1995. So you can see cards like Rocket's Admin from the EX series that are like $20 bulk cards or $10 bulk cards, or VS Seeker was very good in the Platinum and in Phantom Forces. But there's, when you look at some of those decks, people like me that like to build those retro formats, were willing to pay for cards like that, that have been good historically. So not only are they rare, but they're also extremely valuable. So those are my two favorite sites for kind of studying up on bulk prices.
no, it's definitely yeah, really sounds good. Should definitely check those out. Um, you talk about like cards that you look at and stuff. How often like do you crack packs yourself? Like, do you often, just go for it and think, "Sod, I'm going to crack this open"? Um, do you have much time to do that? Because I always feel like whenever I get a product, I mean, opening these boxes will be like the first stuff I've opened in like maybe a month or two, and that to me feels like a long time. But like, do
Yeah.
you have that much time to enjoy the actual opening packs and the fun of that?
Interestingly enough, I actually don't open packs at all. I haven't opened a pack in years. I mean, as a competitive player, when I would win booster boxes, if I didn't sell them, I would just open, booster boxes like as soon as I opened it or bought it or won it. Sorry, I would just open it.
Yeah,
When in my first store, we did like cracks of cases to try and sell the singles. So I've opened a couple hundred packs in one sitting. I've helped other businesses locally open packs. For me, the allure of opening packs is actually not there anymore. On
really.
top of the fact that like I don't want to open it because I think it diminishes its value. So for me
Yes.
personally, I almost never open packs. But I also know how big of a like how fun it is for other people to do it. So I don't knock it. I think it's great. But for me personally, I almost never open packs.
So you won't become like one of these streamers. Um, oh gosh, what is it? That open packs for other people, basically.
To me, that
Because like
business is
opportunity, I think like for you and your knowledge, like if you go through cards and like that's a good playable card, it's something that you could mention out. But yeah, it's
yeah,
one of
for me, the reason I don't do that now is actually because of the entertainment. I don't know that I could turn on a webcam and be entertaining for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours on end. And then,
yeah,
once you do all that, there's the back end work of shipping all the cards and doing like basically the same business you had. However, I believe that business is extremely profitable, if not more profitable than what I do already, because I've seen some of the prices that people charge for packs, and when they can charge $7 a pack for battle styles, and on top of that, they get to keep all the bulk. If you
yeah,
have the knowledge to run TCG Player and these other websites while doing a pack opening live stream and have a customer base, that's a powerhouse of a business because not only are you overcharging on MSRP or overcharging on product or charging MSRP, either's fine. You're
yeah,
usually passing the shipping onto the buyer. And three, you get to keep everything that's not a hit. So these nest balls, these professors, researchers I'm talking about, people that like to open packs don't know that. And you
yeah,
could pull a card that's worth $5 as an uncommon. And if you know that, you can make a lot of money. So I think there is definitely an allure. And especially if you like opening packs, you know, what a great business model for you. You get to sit
yeah,
there, be entertaining, and open packs for fun and make money doing it. And I mean, the effects are just compounded if you have a wholesale agreement because now you pay less than most people do. So
yeah,
I think the business is highly profitable. For me, it's the time. I don't know that I could put so much time into that.
yeah. I know. I think about it, and I sometimes talk to my guys on my Discord about it and stuff. And I say I don't have a big enough following to really start or do that. I'd only start doing that if I became a stockist of Pokemon and what have you. But you look at it, you look at the numbers, and you see what, like for instance, Poke Chloe and Poke Dean. These guys are big in the UK, and I see like 25 quid in packs. I'm thinking, blimey, I could get or like 3 quid each in myself and open them myself. But people do it. People obviously enjoy get the name called out and all the rest of it. But yeah, that
Yeah.
whole yeah, it's definitely one that baffles me, but it's interesting at the same time because I think of the money and that's there that you could potentially make. But kind of like one of the areas that have come up in my thoughts recently is like being obviously a lot of in other countries and stuff they don't have access to the Pokemon Center and stuff. So
Mhm.
being that like middleman service to other people in different countries who don't have access to Pokemon. So is that anything that you've kind of thought of along those lines, or to offer that kind of service? It's the sort of thing I've definitely thought about. Um, but I was curious to see if you had ever thought along the lines of that, because I've
In
got
terms of like the Pokemon Center US.
yeah, like for instance, so I have in my mind, right, I could buy a product for someone and send it to them, for, obviously there's a handling fee that I'll, my service that I'm doing for them as well, there'll be a fee of that.
Mhm.
Like, do you know what I mean? Is that something
Yeah.
that you'd ever look into, like to be that middleman service for people in like Australia, for instance, that want these products from the Pokemon Center, like these Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes that, you know, celebrations, for instance, are really expensive. And mostly, I think Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes are the creme de la creme of Elite Trainer boxes, and most high value, or people that want those better products, if you like, will want them. So I always kind of thought in my mind that's probably a market or a niche that you could kind of go into. But I just kind of was curious to your thoughts on what you would think of that.
Yeah, I don't, I've only ordered off the Pokemon Center like once or twice. I know the exclusive ETBs exist, but I've only ever bought them in like collection buys off other people. So I haven't really, I actually don't know what they go for in other countries. The one thing I can say though is I've kind of been turned off from international shipping because of some of those like because of that Liverpool experience,
Yeah,
unfortunately, where you know I feel that once it leaves the country, my visibility into whatever it is I'm selling just is kind of gone.
yeah,
And I'd love to be able to sell internationally because not only does it get Pokemon products in the hands of more people, but it also expands your sales volume and your pricing. But to me, I haven't quite got over that part. There was a time period where I was experimenting with like accepting cryptocurrency as a way to do international business because with cryptocurrency, once they send whatever USD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it doesn't go back. So, at that point, I send it and like they can't dispute anything because the crypto can't go back.
yeah.
So I haven't thought about it with the Pokemon Center. In terms of like middlemaning, I have thought about trying to middleman as a wholesaler to other businesses.
I see.
But the I've done the math on that a few times, and the pricing structure doesn't work out for the end customer. So unless you're willing to buy like mass amounts of product at maybe 10% off MSRP, it just doesn't work for the end client. Once I have to factor in the shipping fees that I incurred, the credit card fees I incurred, the handling fees, then um, you know, say I just make like 10% off the product. Once I factor that in, then for me to reship it to someone else, and then sales taxes and income taxes, like it isn't super worth it. So in terms of the middlemaning, I haven't. Something that you've actually made me kind of think of just by talking is I think Card Market EU has, or well, all right, I don't know too much about this, so maybe this is too broad, but I think in the EU, cards sell for more than they do in the US. So there could be an opportunity to like wholesale singles to the UK as a way to make margin. But then again, I don't know how much like time I would be saving doing that instead of just listing on TCG Player here.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Are there like, see, with your, obviously, you've got your TCG Player eBay. Would you ever consider like going to card events, um, like card shows and stuff like that? Is that something you've done in the past, or is that something you maybe do in the future? Obviously, it might be difficult if you're still in school and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never done that, but I have thought about it. To me, that's another time thing. Is if I'm at a card show for 8 hours, even if I make a decent amount of sales there, I'm not sure it's worth the 8 hours. Where the e-commerce is really great because like once everything's sorted and listed, it's sold and ready to go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of prep that has to go into card stores or card shows.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm actually one of the trips I want to make down there. I want to go down to the London Card Show at some point, but I feel like if I do that, I'm just gonna blow off my credit card, and it could just be a bit of a nightmare situation after. But
Right.
no, definitely like I'd love to start going to car shows. They do one in Glasgow here in Scotland, and there's Cardiff down in Wales and all that as well. So um, I always feel like whenever you see these videos on YouTube, you see these guys picking up all these, $100 challenge and stuff like that. That buzz sensation of being in that environment, seeing all these other TCGs like football cards and sports cards and stuff as well. I'd love to kind of get to know other TCGs and stuff like that. One other one I'm kind of getting into is Angry Pale Kids.
I don't know about this. I think
Yeah.
we're about to get cut off.
Uh,
I
oh
think we're
yes,
about to get cut off.
less than a minute to go. Very good. Yeah, so I just wanted to go back to YouTube and your Discord. I should also shout out for everyone as well. If you're not subscribed to Will, do go check his channel out. It's got some amazing content about Pokemon business. It's an absolute brilliant place to know. And
Thank you.
obviously Discord as well. Very, very active Discord. I remember you saying, I think I messaged you while you were away at some point, and you said people keep on joining and it's fluent all the time, which is really good and it's great to see. I've had my Discord for a few months. I think I started it at the start of December. We're hitting on 40 people at the minute. It ticks over. I've had a couple more people join, and that's really good as well. And I'm really enjoying it. I love the Discord. I love the conversation and community base of it. I think that's amazing. And obviously, like I remember you speaking about Danny Phantom before in your videos, and obviously, did you used to go to events with him before? Did you know him well, or what kind of level did you know him, kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know Danny on a super personal level. I knew him because he owned the trading card game professional team, Dead Draw Gaming,
Right.
and I think I maybe bought cards from him a few times in person at a vendor, but my relationship with him was not like I don't know him that well. Uh, in fact, when I went to a regionals in May, I went up to him and reintroduced myself, kind of like, "Hey, I think like we both know each other. We're friends on Facebook, but like, um, you know,
Hmm.
if you don't remember, I'm Will." And I had messaged him quite a few times when I was starting the business on Twitter, so I think we know of each other. But yeah, that's kind of the extent of my relationship with him. Is I've messaged him quite a few times for advice when I got started, and
Right.
then I talked to him a little bit in person at the most recent or the regional that I went to in May.
Right. Okay. And was he quite open talking about the business kind of side of things with you? Was he quite approachable with all that? Was he?
Yeah, I mean, if you got to be willing to wait with response times. I mean, at this point, he has
Yeah.
90,000 subscribers, and maybe he's not as open to the messages. I can't say for certain,
Yes.
but for the most part, I mean, I would send him a message on Twitter, and maybe 3 days later, I'd get a response. And I mean, I'm kind of getting to that point too, where I feel kind of bad. Like I've always been very open when
Mm.
people message me about stuff, but I mean, I've
Yeah.
even caught myself like waiting a few days before responding to messages just because I got so much other stuff going on. So I would say, yeah, like he's a pretty good person to reach out to if you have questions, and then you just don't get disheartened if you don't get a response
Yeah.
in a week. Maybe be persistent. Like if a week goes by, just send them another message.
Yeah, yeah, I see. And like, do you have? Are you planning on going back into the trading card game of it and competing again? Is that what you? Is that in your thoughts at all? Or
Man, for me, I got really into personal finance, and playing the Pokemon card game is not super lucrative from a return on like time
yeah,
perspective. However, I love playing the card game. And it allowed me to travel to all sorts of different countries. I've
mm,
been to Australia, Brazil, Europe twice, and
wow,
Canada playing Pokemon, as well as all across the U.S. So it was a ton of fun. For me, it was time. Once I got super dedicated towards school and work, that just kind of became my main priority, and I don't have too much time to stay good at it.
yeah,
So I'm still very connected with that community. I still have a lot of friends that play it, and maybe when my schoolwork ends, I can have a little bit more time and like take off days from work to go do it. But I'm really in the like grind and discovery phase of like putting my all in at work, never taking days off, and
yeah,
trying to just finish out everything. So it's not impossible that I would return to it, but it's definitely not in the near term plans.
yeah. I suppose I kind of sit at my point of view. I want an easy life, but like I know if I do go into this Pokemon business, yeah, I'm going to be pretty busy going forward, especially with the two kids. And my kids are really young as well, uh,
Mhm.
4 and 2. So but on the other hand, like I kind of feel I've got my daughter who's going to be going to nursery soon. My son will be starting school, and I have got that window of I will have a bit of time because I work night shifts. I work 3 nights a week, 12
Mhm.
hour shifts overnight.
Oh, perfect.
So, like you kind of said about that balance, about you had the 4 and the 3. I've
Yeah.
kind of got that, and I won't have the 4 complete to myself, but I have more often, more time, at least half a day. at least in, to potentially make it work. So that's why I remember I spoke to you when you started your channel about Pokemon business, and I suppose through this time I've been kind of watching a lot of podcasts, um, a lot of videos, and just even refreshing my memory with some of the things you've spoken about before as well, and kind of preparing for it because I know what I do now is I'm a support worker and I work with adults with learning difficulties and stuff, and it's a very
Mhm.
demanding job. It's very tiring, and um, I'm I enjoy that. As challenging as it is, mentally and physically at times. Um, I want to progress with the hobby and what I love the most. I'm not expecting to go into my doing a Pokemon business and it become my full time right away. Um,
Mhm.
the dream would be to get to that point, but I think there'd be so many levels you kind of need to achieve before you can even start thinking that. Um, but yeah, I know it's really interesting to see like the things that you've done and how you're managing things and how you have done things in the past as well. Um, but no, it's cool. And obviously, there's been a lot of Pokemon changes recently. One of them being the borders of that. How do you feel about that? Because for me, I don't like it. And it was funny because I was actually on a live stream and I had opened, I think it was a Star's Birth booster box, just for the crack, just why not, and engage with my community a bit and stuff. And we've spoken, and I remember looking back the other week, and it was someone actually had mentioned about the borders getting changed to all silver, and I was like on my live stream, no, I don't think they'll actually do that. I think there's too much nostalgia with the yellow and the blue kind of thing. And then lo and behold, like it was true. I was made
Yeah.
to look an absolute mug. But what's your feeling on it? What's your opinion? Do you like it? Do you think it's a change that was needed, or
Yeah, I love it. So I'm
love
gonna
it?
take the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the opposite viewpoint. I mean, as mentioned earlier, I don't have that nostalgia of the 1995 thing, but
Mm,
and I guess maybe even because I grew up in Heart Gold Soul Silver, where the borders
yeah.
are kind of that faded yellow.
Yes.
My nostalgia to the yellow borders more from my time playing. To me, I mean, I think so. If I had to guess why they're doing this, it would be to unify the game. In Japan, Japan has so much interest in Pokemon. It would not surprise me if the concentration of like population in Japan to love in Pokemon is greater than any other country. I could be wrong, but that
Mm,
would be my guess. And Japan runs on a release schedule that's ahead of every other country. Their
yeah.
tournaments are played differently. The cards are different. So my guess is this is kind of like the first step of unifying the game. Additionally, in the trading card game, the rotation schedule now has to do with regulation marks and not by set.
Right.
In Japan, I can't remember how they do rotation, but I think it's similar where they use some sort of system that's not on a set base, and because they have so many mini sets, I think their schedule is always slightly different.
Yeah.
So I think the silver borders are probably going to be like step one in unifying the game, like the trading card game as a whole, and really the face of the Pokemon, um, what
Yes.
the cards look like. So I like it. In my opinion, I think the silver looks really clean. I remember opening up packs and like really loving how the Japanese cards look.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, big fan of the silver borders. I mean, even like the World Championship cards
Yeah.
are, they have all those silver borders, and I think these look really cool. So to me, I really like it. But I can see both opinions. Like if it wasn't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality with the
Yeah.
yellow. But yeah, I think they look pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm definitely from that old school Jen, I think I love. I don't know. It's just what I grew up with there. So as a kid, that's why I unpacked. But no, I think I'll probably come around to it because I've always loved opening Japanese products, and when I've gone to Japan, I've always gone into 7-Eleven and Seiyu, which is like their equivalent to Walmart, I think. And obviously the Pokemon centers, like the Pokemon centers, like I've been to, is like Fukuoka, one there, and yeah, absolutely fine. You come home with a load of boxes, just crack open, and the silver is a nice change. It is a nice change, but yeah, no, it'll probably grow on me. I know you've got the Scarlet starter Pokemon in that, like, what is it, Spragatito, whatever his name is, one of the new.
To be honest, I don't even know. I think it's like the Palladia or Palladia collection, but I don't
Yeah,
actually know. I haven't played the games and I haven't really paid attention. So I've seen some Pokemon that I've been like, what are those? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Is that something that you think you'll probably do? Is like maybe buy the game or familiarize yourself? Do you think you need to do that at all, or not really?
No, like the video games, I think the last video game I played was Pokemon Shield, and I ended up losing my Switch at a Pokemon tournament with Pokemon with Shield in it. So
Mhm.
like to me, I just never like went back to play it. The
Yeah.
only games I've actually played through are Emerald and Pokemon Y. So my video game experience with Pokemon is actually pretty small, and yeah, to me, I'm not a huge fan of the like how repetitive the games are. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
would that would be that would be my hot take. Is I'm strictly a trading card game kind of guy. It's what I
Yeah.
grew up with, what I know. Even though the video game's super popular,
Mhm.
yeah, I figured as those cards become competitively good, or like when I buy bulk, I'll kind of figure out what some of
Yeah.
them are.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for me, I don't know. I always feel like I need to get the new game so I know how to pronounce the like Pokemon card when it comes to doing a stream or opening or whatever. Um, but yeah, when I see something like that, you do think, bloody hell, what is this about? But yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. Um, and in terms of like, I know a while ago you did a Pokemon investment video, and I actually asked, I think you asked on your Discord, does anyone have any suggestions? And I said, what about a Pokemon investment video? And I know you're it's a kind of a grey area, like you kind of mentioned before,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you were to have a product, a modern product that you think is going to be a good investment, what would it be?
Do you want a specific product?
Oh, you can vary it if you want.
Okay, so we'll go broad and then we'll go specific.
Okay,
So so broad is booster boxes. I mean,
just say
the
booster box or
yeah, just like any booster box. I mean, to be honest, sealed as a whole, as I stated earlier, any sealed product you really can't go wrong with. So if we're talking about investing in sealed product would be my answer, period.
yeah.
Um, if
Okay.
we want to dive a little bit deeper, I think that like just any booster box, because historically those have some of the best appreciations. They're a
Yeah,
a premium price point item in terms of they start at $100, and then it's really just that like everything you get is what you want. You're getting the set, and you're getting packs, where collection boxes, all these other stuffs have all this other stuff that's random. Maybe like the celebrations UPC is also really good
yeah.
because it has both Pikachu and Charizard. But I think I have to qualify these things if I want to go a little bit more broader with like, is it really a good investment if your price point is already 3-4 times what the initial price point was, right? So like for me to say I think the UPC is a good investment right now, I would probably be talking about MSRP, not $300 or
Yes.
$350, whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
So booster boxes as a whole, like to me, $100 a booster box is a steal. And
Yeah.
when Chilling Reign was being dumped on the market, you could buy it for 80-70 bucks a box.
Yeah. No.
That
Yeah.
was the perfect time to be accumulating. And I think
Yeah.
people get really scared in markets when, the prices are falling and like the sky is falling and oh, the print runs are going up. I think that's the time. Like there's a famous investing quote, which is be greedy when others are fearful. And, I've tried to do that with stocks. I've tried to do that with Pokemon product as a whole. So like there was I think I bought a case of Darkness Ablaze ETBs for like 25 a piece.
Yeah.
That's basically wholesale, like years after I
Yeah.
could have bought them wholesale. So yeah,
Yeah.
sealed product as a whole, specifically booster boxes. If I had to think of a set,
Evolving
at
Skies is already there. For
at
me,
today's at
you know,
today's price points, because like I think it's really easy to say Evolving Skies if we were
yeah,
looking
it
at
is.
like a
It's,
hundred bucks, $100 a box.
yeah.
At today's price point, what is undervalued?
For me, it's Chilling Reign.
I would have to say like either Vivid Voltage
Yeah.
or
I mean,
Darkness Ablaze,
mhm.
because if I think about those two boxes, um, they are priced close to Chilling Reign right now, but are even older, are going to go out of rotation next year, and if I had to guess, probably aren't going to get printed again. Where
Yeah.
my whole video about the price of booster boxes was very focused on like if
Mhm.
the rotation occurs, they're going to reprint anything that's in rotation, and
Yeah.
Chilling Reign will be in rotation. So I would say like Vivid Voltage, probably because it has the Pikachu in it. Darkness Ablaze is a Charizard set, but if I'm correct at the time of the recording this video, those boxes are both like 130 each, and I think Chilling Reign is also selling for 130.
Yeah.
Just by like what's going to get you the fastest return, the older sets are going to do better. So that would be my hot take is buy Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage. Personally, I'm not a fan of buying boxes over $100, but if you're looking for a better alternative to some of the like more expensive ones now, that would be it. And then I guess if we go with the value play here, I would say Battle Styles. That box is still $100, and based on my theory, $100 is a good price point. So
It's
that'd
underrated.
be what
Mhm.
to say.
Battle Stars is underrated, and to me, like it's always one that I've passed up, and maybe I shouldn't, but I just don't think I care about Airshrew. That's
No,
that's just me. I don't know, and I know there's all alternate arts and stuff through it and stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean though. Like in general, if you go sealed, you're pretty home run. It's fine. You have to wait it out and pick your moment to sell and all the rest of it. A lot of time, it's a lot of my Discord, like people are saying, "Oh, should I sell my Evolving Skies right now?" And I think, well, you could if you hold on for it until you definitely know there's not going to be a reprint of it because nothing's confirmed yet.
right.
Wait it out, buy the time. I'd see if I'm buying booster boxes. Like, well, for instance, I bought my Chilling Reign today for 120, call it whatever, and that for me is a long-term investment. I mean, I'm not able to spend like tons and tons on Pokemon, um, and if I do, I try and bounce like 100 quid a month, and I have to be quite savvy about it. So that's why a lot of my videos are like about collection boxes, what tins to buy, and things like that. Because yeah, that's kind of what I can afford at the minute. One day I would
Mhm.
obviously like to spend more than that in an ideal world, but yeah, no, definitely. I think just a big advocate for holding products for a long period of time because that's what I've done in the past. I mean, I bought my CP6 booster box, Evolution's Japanese version CP6 box. I got that at retail price in Japan at the time. So, I can't remember exactly, 30, 40, whatever. Um, and now, obviously, that is, what's that, like a £1,800 booster box. And it's just been over time. And it's like, obviously, there's a lot of new people that come into Pokemon and they see my videos and stuff as well. And they have a lot of questions. But I always try and stress do your homework first. Look at history of other sets. Look at the Pokemon within a set that you think that is gonna you know what I mean? I'm a big advocate for saying, yes, I'm gonna tell you, but you also need to look at this yourself if you're serious about your investment and going forward investing in Pokemon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no. For me, like I think I'm surprised you said Darkness Ablaze. The only reason why I think that is because Charizard is the main card in it, and I can get that for 30 quid off eBay. Um, Obviously, was it booster boxes you bought or elite trainer boxes?
Well, I bought Elite Trainer boxes, but I also have booster boxes.
You've got booster boxes, yeah. I mean, like, there's always that Charizard appeal, but again, if you're getting them at wholesale price, you're only going to make money as they get older anyway. But Darkness Ablaze, that had that real peak. I remember here selling over 60 quid elite trainer box in the UK, and obviously then it had its reprint, and then we're back down to 40 quid, I think, at the minute sitting at in the UK. But like,
Yeah.
in Africa, you have to time these things. You have to, you know, watch the market, and that's what I stress in my videos as well. If you don't watch the market, that's how you're going to miss things out going along the way of like
Yeah.
the era and stuff.
I would say like to me the perfect time to buy is right when a reprint occurs. So the
Yeah,
fact that Darkness Ablaze hasn't corrected to where it used to be is pretty shocking. And I know there's a lot of people try and do like intrinsic value of different sets based on what cards are in it and what the pull rate is. But my philosophy is like I don't really care what cards are in the set. I just think everything Pokemon related that's sealed increases in
yeah,
price over time. And if we take like Steam Siege, for example,
yes,
which people always say was a bad set. To me, Steam Siege doesn't really have an identity. like it has these two, like Volcanion and Magearna don't necessarily mix. They're mythical Pokemon that were just kind of introduced, and like
Yeah.
I'm not really a history buff when it comes to like knowing why those are implemented or whatever. But to
Mhm.
me, like that's like a random set. Crimson Invasion similarly is a set that gets kind of hated on a little bit, but Crimson Invasion had like an image. It was the Ultra Beast set.
Yes.
And then similarly, Battle Styles is the single strike and
It's
like
like
a
the mm,
karate type, or martial arts maybe is the better term,
yeah,
set. To me, Battle Styles has an identity,
yeah,
and yeah, the Charizard might be $30 in the Darkness Ablaze thing, or yeah, the Urshifu secret rare from whatever new set is like $2, and no
yeah,
one cares about your Urshifu. But I mean, Steam Siege is, I don't know the exact price, but to be safe, we could say like $200. Crimson Invasion's
yeah.
probably up there
Upwards to
as
250
well.
in the UK.
Yeah, and I mean like Noble Victories is another example of a bad set
Yes.
that is a couple hundred right now. So it
Mhm.
doesn't, like, even the worst sets still appreciate. So that's
Yeah,
why my answer would be anything.
yeah.
And picking a winner
Well, for long
to,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely.
to me it's just those, to me it's not so much what cards are in them, it's more so if we're looking at the time scale, I don't think they're getting reprinted again,
Yeah.
and they're valued at the same amount as Chilling Reign, which very well could get reprinted again. So that would be my thesis on why to buy those, but not a financial advisor.
Mm,
uh don't sue me, bro, if you lose a
yes.
bunch of money doing that. So yeah, do your due diligence like Finding Charizard said.
Yeah, I think I should probably actually put like a disclaimer out there or something. I don't do it enough. I have before. Like, don't take my word for gospel. This is just purely, yeah, yeah. I probably should do something more about that. But Vivid Voltage though, I think I actually really like Vivid Voltage. I hear a lot of people hating on Vivid Voltage and stuff like that, which was which really does surprise me because I think it's going to be a very strong set in the future. You think of all the Pikachu cards, the collectability within Pikachu on its own as a Pokemon, and I actually like the Amazing Rares. I got around the Rayquaza. I like the Celebi. I know, like at the time, the full art Pikachu with the pink background that was going for like 80 quid at one point. Obviously, that's dropped now. But no, it's like I actually really like Vivid Voltage. I've got a booster box sitting up there. I've got the Elite Trainer boxes and stuff. I do think it's going to be better than what people think. But
Yeah,
I think a lot of investing, you have to go with your gut a lot of the time. It's very good someone saying this, but if you have a strong feeling about something, sometimes you are just better going with your gut. I feel anyway.
yeah, 100%.
Okay. Um, my last question: what is your holy grail item? If you want to share with
Ooh.
us, or maybe one of, or whatever.
In terms of like I want this card or I have this card.
Oh, well, go both. Go both.
Ooh. Okay, I have to think about the want.
Mhm.
The have, so I have two that I have that are very important to me. Um, so I bought three of those Battle Festa Pikachu full art PSA
Oh yeah.
10s during the pandemic. So I have the 2017 one, the 2015 one. Actually, no, I only have the two. I have those two in PSA 10s, and I love those cards because when I first got into the game around that XY time and Breakthrough came out, that's when that Mewtwo Zoroark break,
Yeah.
other Mewtwo, and Pikachu card came out. It was a Japanese tournament promo. I thought it looked really sick, and I had never got one. I remember at the World Championships that year, I actually traded for a deck box that was like a tournament exclusive. So I have the deck box that goes with the card, and then later on, I bought the card.
Yeah.
So I really like those Battle Festa Pikachu cards. I think they're pretty cool. Um, the other card that I have a couple of these, is in 2017, I got 16th at the World Championships. And when you do well at the World Championships, they give you placement champions festivals
All right.
for the place that you
Yeah.
get. So I have a couple top 16 2017 champions festivals. I have a top 32 one because they give you all the placements below it. And then I
Right.
also have a top 16 one from 2013 that I got in a collection. So I got those all graded. I love those cards. They're super sentimental to me because I actually won them. I didn't, well,
Yes.
not the 2013 one, but the 2017 ones. I actually won those. Like I remember getting them in the World's bag that I was given. So those are super, super like holy grail to me.
Yeah.
The Champions Festivals. In terms of cards that I want, I guess what I would say is the Battle Festa 2016, which is the 3 starters from Gen 1 and Pikachu on a card with an orange background and a medal, I think.
Yeah.
And it has like that card's like $2,500 or maybe even more at this point graded. So that's why I didn't buy that one, was because the ones I bought were much cheaper. So that would be like a holy grail for me in like an attainable sense. I think an unattainable sense for right now, and maybe like long term when I have, some extra money to throw around or whatever, I would really love to own one of the first place world championship cards. I
Yeah.
have a couple friends that have won the world championships, and I've seen the cards in person. They are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
They are so expensive, and with
I was
the
gonna
this,
say.
with the surge of popularity that has occurred in Pokemon, those things only continue to go up. But I would like to win that card,
Yes.
but because I'm not playing anymore, I can't really bank on that.
Yeah.
So I would love to purchase it at some point if I had enough funds to do so. So I would say that would probably be my holy grail.
Yeah. No, it's cool. But like for me, I've got I spoke about my Charizard. That's one of my holy grails. I bought a again, this was probably about 10 years ago as well. When I used to collect and I used to invest more in vintage and stuff, I bought a Neo Genesis first edition complete set. I need the Lugia. That's one of the cards that I do need. I think I'm missing four hollows. The Lugia, one of the Meganiums, Pichu, and there's one Typhlosion. I've got the most expensive Typhlosion. I can't remember the number on that, but there's 4 cards. And after I bought it for £110, obviously now that's worth a lot more. Um, now, but I remember I used to look on eBay and I used to look at the Pichu. I used to look at the Lugia, and at the time when I bought the set, I should have just completed the set because I could have got that card for £25. The Lugia in the first edition. That's how like long ago when these prices were really low and there's vintage cards and stuff. And that's one of my biggest regrets, not taking that on and completing that set when because now that Lugia is like a 400 plus pound raw card, not even in mint condition for that Lugia. But I love having that group of first editions because that's the most first editions I've got completed in one set. So that's one of my holy grails. And my ones that another one that I have are the Pikachu Mario and Pikachu Luigi. I got those. I've got the Rayquaza, Pikachu Rayquaza, the Charizard. I don't have the Magikarp. I need to get the Magikarp, but I've got all of those other ones that I need to get graded, and they're all pretty minty. And I think they'll get definitely 9s and 10s for sure. So also I got those at MSRP as well. So all these little things that I've picked up along the way have definitely made me money and made in the future, if I was to sell out, I'd have a pretty substantial bit of money there, which is nice. One of my biggest regrets, though, actually, Chaos Card had a first edition Charizard for sale, and they had it for sale for £600. And this was obviously before the boom and everything. And they labelled it as excellent condition and all the rest of it. And at the time, we had just moved to Sterling, and I could have got a TV or the first edition Charizard, and I ended up with a TV, and that's one of my biggest regrets that I've not taken up. What I was thinking with the TV, but I guess in that mindset, I wasn't totally investment money orientated, but I wanted the new FIFA game and stuff and the rest of it. So yeah, that was bit of one of my biggest regrets not picking up the first edition Charizard when I had the chance, but no, I actually really like the Pokemon Japan post. I love that collaboration there. I think that's going to do really well, and it's already starting to tick away. A lot of the beauty looking back promo card is a really nice looking card, and I really enjoy getting like the Japanese exclusive boxes like that, like when they had the Edgar Munch Scream cards.
Mhm.
I've got those. I need to get the Mimikyu, but again, that's kind of at my price range. And I bought the Pikachu for like 100 odd pound, £105, I think it was. And now obviously that as a raw price has just gone up. I still need to get these graded, but there's like some of my Grail pieces that I have that I really love. That's
Yeah,
what
those are
I
all great cards.
What's that?
I was saying those are all great cards. Like if I had a short list of grails, they'd all be on them.
Yes, yeah, no, definitely. Um, but I recently just picked up the Charizard alternate art from Brilliant Stars, and that's going to be a nice piece. I need to get that sent off to PSA. But yeah, I will see. Do you grade? Do you send your cards off to PSA regularly now, or are you not really doing that so much?
I tried doing it once and it didn't work out too well, but I have a shipment that's coming back. It's been 2 years since I've sent it,
Yeah.
so I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. I think it's too expensive and takes way too long, but maybe in the future.
Right. I've got a bit of a nightmare situation with PSA at the minute because I use a middleman service because obviously we don't have PSA in the UK and all the rest of it. So we have to use a middleman service, and I use Ludkin's Collectibles, and now they are no longer working with PSA
Yeah,
are no longer working with Ludkin's. So I've got a stack of cars that are just sitting there. They've been there since before COVID, and I don't know when I'm getting them back. And PSA literally just announced, "Oh, we'll get back to you within the next 6 months to let you know when we're delivering your cards out." I'm thinking, bloody hell,
yeah,
nightmare. But yeah, what can you do? Just one of those things. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything, though. Will, again, thank you so much for coming on the channel.
of
Really
course,
enjoyed meeting you, and it's been great to speak to you. And obviously, like having a proper conversation with you, knowing, seeing you on your videos, and I always wanted to have this conversation with you to get you more of your insight and stuff like that. And I really hope my viewers and your viewers enjoy this kind of content as well. But yeah, as like I said before, subscribe to Will's channel, check out his Discord as well. Lab TCG, place to be. And yeah, thank you again, Will. Thank you so much, mate. And
of course.
yeah, cool.
Thank you. Glad we could have the talk.
Yeah,
Guys, subscribe to Finding Charizard if you haven't already.
yeah. Cheers, mate. All right, take care, Will. Speak to you soon.
Take care. See ya.